Hey, welcome to Trucks. Today's show is one that a lot of people, including myself, have been waiting for a long time because it's time to roll Copperhead back into the spotlight. Now, obviously, I've got a few things to do to this truck still before I can call it done, and I've got some surprises for you on this project still. But before we do that, I've been getting a lot of requests from people to take you back through the project and show you what I've done so far, because there's a lot of people building classic trucks. So, here we go, back to the beginning, and the whole purpose for doing this project. First of all, it's going to be a hot street truck. Second of all, it's going to deal with one of the most popular body styles of truck ever built, the 67 through 72 Chevrolet. If you start with just the cab and the frame, you can build this truck, and most of it is just bolt-on stuff. Now, I know a lot of you are probably saying, oh, now wait a minute, no, the whole truck? You gotta prove that to me. Well, I thought you'd probably say that. So, the only way to prove it to you is to build one. What I'm starting with is literally a 67 cab, a frame, and of course a title. You gotta have a title. You don't have a truck without that. With the frame stripped and powder coated, and the cab cleaned up and wearing a fresh coat of primer, well, we had a solid foundation, so it was time to start building. Now, the first thing that you need to decide about any project is what direction you're going to go. Now, this project is going to be nice and low and smooth, but it's not going to detract from the original classic lines of the truck. It's going to pretty much be the ultimate cruiser. The first stop was to install new upper and lower control arms, ball joints, bushings, so everything will be firm and tight. Now, for the lower ball joints, those need to be pressed in, so do not try to do this with a hammer. You'll need to take it down. A good machine shop just charge you a few bucks to have that done, to give us a nice starting point for our alignment. Now, the bottom control arm, it's just held in place with these U-bolts that come with the kit. We followed that up with new drop spindles and springs to not only give us better handling, but also get the nose down where it belongs. To round out the handling package, we also tossed in a quick ratio steering box and bolted up a huge performance sway bar underneath. Now, don't think for a second we forgot about the rear suspension. No, it needed some help too. So, new bushings and trailing arms were mated together, and then the trailing arms were installed with new springs to make this thing sit down and have the right stance. So far, things seemed pretty normal, but I did drop a hint of what I had in mind for this truck when I installed the huge Dana 60 rear end and track bar. People began to wonder. Next, it was time to get the fuel tank out of the cab. Not the most desirable situation. And relocate it under the bed. And this custom tank from Early Classic fits so nice, it makes you wonder why GM didn't do something like this at the factory. Now, to get the truck to stop like it should, front disc brakes were added. And then, to make the chassis a roller, we slid on a hot wheel and tire combination to finish it all up. Now, with the chassis done, it was time for the drivetrain. Oh, I had a lot of fun teasing you with this one, telling you how cool it was going to be. But I don't think anybody, including Chevy, was really prepared for when I finally whipped that cover off and revealed the very first production 572 crate engine. Man, the phones at GM Performance literally rang off the hook as people tried to find out more about this massive engine. Now wait a minute, let me repeat that to you. This is a 572 cubic inch engine. It's been dynoed at 620 horsepower at the flywheel, and it's kicking out 650 foot-pounds of torque. To go with that big old hunk of horsepower, a built B&M Turbo 400 was wrestled into place, and then the whole lethal combination was laid to rest between the frame rails. Man, is that awesome or what? But we weren't quite finished yet. No. We needed more gears for high-speed driving. So in went a gear vendor's overdrive. And then, finally, with the drivetrain in, we were able to permanently mount the saddles to the axle and set our pinion angle. We'll be back with more Copperhead after this. Welcome back to Trucks and our recap of this whole Copperhead thing. Now, when we left off, it had a rolling chassis and a drivetrain, but I still had a few things to do before I could put the body on. Here they are. The first thing was to mount all of our pulleys and brackets and check the fit. Now here's how our inner fenders are going to mount. Notice how everything tucks down into this dead area here. Like I said before, man, it's all about the details. Then we slid in a custom drive shaft that's not supposed to ever break. Yeah, we'll see about that one. Now the exhaust system took things even wilder as I installed a dual custom exhaust system with twin electric exhaust cutouts. That'll make this truck just as loud as it is fast. I flip the switch, open up the exhaust cutout, that bypasses my main exhaust, and now I'm running straight pipe right out of the 572, out the side, into the side of his head. And this is the last thing he's gonna hear before I uncork this thing and give him a really good look at my tail end. As with any project like this, there is always some fabricating and designing that needs to be done to make everything fit just right. Finally, we topped everything off with a special air cleaner. Oh yeah, there. Now you can see all that extra work it took to make this thing fit just right. Definitely worth it. At this point, it was all in, but not finished. So, next I pulled the whole drivetrain out, painted and detailed the engine, while advanced plating chromed the special valve covers. Now, while all this was going on, the cab and the body rolled out of the paint shop, and they were looking good because Kevin Tates at Paintucation had spent hours smoothing it down and shooting it with a special PPG copper color that Ron Payton and I had created for this project. The next stop was inside the cab to locate our new seat positioning, and then fabricate some brackets so when we're ready to put them in, they just bolt into place. You want to make sure that the seat is sitting high enough so you're looking through the center of the windshield, not through the bottom, not through the top, right through the center. Make sure that you're planning ahead on your project, because if not, you might work yourself into a corner. With the sound deadening and carpet in place on the floor, it was time to modify our dash. So, in went some performance gauges, and instead of a stock dash, we installed this super slick matching cluster and glove box to really make the interior pop. Finally, some custom interior panels finished it all off. When we come back, the body goes back together. Hey, we're back with Project Copperhead. Now, when we left off, it was time to start putting this body back together. So let's get to it. Hold on, because here we go. The first step was to lower the cab back down on the chassis, check all our clearances and fit, and then bolt it down. Next, it was time to start putting the bed together. And even though every one of these parts are reproductions, the bed went together really easily. Now, if you spend a little time fine-tuning the fit, this will look as good or better than any original bed. Now, if you don't have lifting equipment like this, you're gonna need at least 4 buddies to come in here and help you set this down on here. That's it, so you don't scratch the paint. Buddy, we are on. We finished off the rear with taillights and a stock style bumper, and then it was time to move forward into the cab. The first thing to go in was the steering column and the steering wheel, and then we'll position the column in the cab where we want it. Now you need to take your time here because this is where you make it fit how you want it to fit. And then we not only installed power windows, but we converted the doors to one-piece glass while we were at it to get rid of that vent wing. Now, with the doors all assembled and looking good, it was time to install them on the cab. And adjust them. And the striker plate itself goes on the outside. Now, and adjust them. And adjust them until everything fit perfect. So be prepared to spend a little time here fitting, checking, tweaking until it's perfect. And you can get it perfect even without weather stripping in there. Man, that looks nice, especially with that shaved drip rail. Then, finally, it was time to move on to the front end. This old rig slowly began to transform into a more and more recognizable truck with each piece that we put on. Now, this is by far the most rewarding step of any build-up because you can finally step back and take a look at your creation for the first time and see how it's going to look. Step back, take a look at this thing. Is that sweet or what? Well, there it is. We're all up to date. And once they get to this point, well, it's just a matter of doing your plumbing and your wiring and your detail work, which we're going to do. But like I said before, I still have one big surprise for you on this project. And that is that you're going to have to wait till next week to see it. Oh man, don't you hate that? One of the biggest investments that you can make in your truck, other than just buying it, is in a new set of wheels and tires, because nothing sets the look and the personality of your rig like wheels and tires. And they're pretty expensive. So you want them to last as long as they can. But how do you do that? Well, number one, you keep them balanced. What does that mean, though? What's involved in that? That's what we're going to show you.
How it works is brought to you by Wyotech.
All right, Mark, what we're going to do is take the viewers through the process of balancing a tire. Now first, why don't you go ahead and explain to them what we're talking about when we say balance.
Okay, when they build the tire and they build the wheel, just by the manufacturing process, they end up with heavy and light spots in both the tire and the wheel, okay? And what we're going to do with this tire and wheels, we're going to spin it on our machine up to probably in the neighborhood of 50 miles an hour. We're going to find the light spot, and we're going to add the appropriate amount of wheel weights on the front and the back of the wheel to compensate for it.
Okay, seen this before. It's car tire, steel rim, got the weights on it. Very common. Now, let's show you more what we deal with on the show. Heavy off-road tires. This is about a 35-incher, notorious for being out of balance. Mark, take us through the process
Okay,
here.
we've got this mounted up on our Hunter 9700 wheel balancer, okay?
And now, is this the type of machine you see in most shops?
It's becoming more popular, but it's really still not the industry standard.
Okay. What are we looking at here?
Okay, right now this machine is applying about 1,400 pounds of pressure to the tread of this tire. seating the beads, checking for tire run out, okay, humps and valleys in the tire, that sort of thing. Okay, measuring the diameter. Okay.
All right.
Okay, right.
Now it's taking it back, going to show us where we're going to have to add the weight, correct?
Right now it just stopped and it's going to spin it in the opposite direction, like the 50 mile an hour we talked about earlier. Okay, it's looking for the light
Now
spot.
the results are going to come up for us, right? I think
Yeah.
that tire's out of balance. It's rattling a little
Oh,
bit.
mackerel, yeah, I guess you called that one pretty
It's
close.
like, all right, now the arrows here are showing us where we need to add the weight on the outside.
Correct.
All right. Now for weight, what are we going to use here?
This is a standard mag wheel weight, okay? It's got a wide gap between your mounting tang and the weight itself.
And you just hammer those
You
onto the
hammer
outer
them
rim.
onto the rim. Exactly.
All right.
Okay.
Different scenario.
Okay.
The guy's got his nice polished aluminum wheel,
Right.
doesn't want to scar it up hammering weights on. Got to use a stick-on weight.
Stick-on weight.
Now,
okay?
how accurate is that?
Well, the stick-on weights are fairly accurate, but you're going to sacrifice a little bit of your precision for the looks.
That's
okay?
because we can't put weight on either side.
'Cause you're
You got to
hanging
stick it in
closer,
the center.
Closer to the center of the
All
wheel.
right. How often should somebody balance a tire like this?
Well, our general rule is if you're going to get your oil changed around 3,000 miles, 3,500, it'd be a good idea to save the tire and get the tires balanced at the same time.
Yeah.
It just makes it real easy that way.
Well, hopefully this gives you an idea what's going on when you take your tire down to have it balanced. Make sure you keep them balanced. As they wear, they're going to get lumpy on you. They're going to wear out. In the world of trucks, guys have been using airbags to slam their trucks down on the ground for a long time. So, it was only natural that they start using airbags to lift their trucks. Unfortunately, if you wanted to do this, well, you had to build the suspension yourself, or you had to pay somebody to do it for you. Well, now you've got another choice, and it comes from Kelderman Air Ride Suspension. That's right, it's like natural truck enhancement in the form of a bolt-on airbag lift for your 3/4 ton and your 1 ton trucks. Now, of course, the kit includes huge airbags to lift this truck up and down, but it's a lot more than that. This puts a state-of-the-art 4-link suspension in the front and the rear of the truck. So you've got link bars, bracketry, airbags, an air compressor system, your choice of shocks, and all the hardware you're going to need to put this kit in. And if you take a close look, you can see how well this is engineered and how nice it fits under this big diesel-powered Dodge. But the real biggie is how well it all works, as it takes this truck from 5 inches of lift to a massive 13 inches of lift with a flick of a switch, and you can do it while you drive down the road. So, if you've got a big 4x4 truck and you want to make it even bigger, but you don't want to lose the drivability of it or the usability of it, and you'd still like to get it in the garage once in a while, well, it sounds like you need to make a call to Kelderman Air Ride, get one of these kits. If you are a regular viewer of any of these automotive type shows, you are probably familiar with Royal Purple synthetic motor oil. What you may not be familiar with, though, are the other products they've got that are just as good. For example, you have this Max Tough assembly lube for your engine builders. You have this Max EZ power steering fluid. Heck, you've even got synthetic oil for your air compressor. If you need performance oil, you need to call Royal Purple.